And I'm like, you can cut it, I don't care. And then mess it up, but then somebody else would fix it or whatever. So I've just learned to like just let people.
That's what's up.
Just let people try it. I mean, what's the worst? It's just gonna grow back.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Good. That way you're gonna work.
No, I'm good. Ahorita lo trade off.
But that was the
I
main
felt
thing.
like that. I don't know. Me siento raro hearing myself. You know,
It just helps because when you're away, you can hear that.
the audio level.
That you're not talking. So if
Yeah.
we go like this,
Like I look
then
right
let's
here,
get
if I-
closer.
I'll scoot
Yeah.
this close.
So just make sure you're like at least 4 inches, 3 inches away.
It just helps.
Uh-oh.
You
like
can
my
hear
voice.
the audio level.
Here we go.
You need to wake up.
Testing, testing.
Clear throat.
Yeah, everything's good. But yeah, so you guys dye hair there?
At the shop, no.
No.
Just cutting hair.
No. Let me see. You can,
And eventually, maybe. We'll learn.
Yeah.
there we
Edgar
go.
teaches
See,
us.
you can hear yourself a little bit louder. Big louder.
Yeah.
Is that no barbershops? The barbershops just don't.
Some
Never do
do. Some do. I just finished cosmetology school myself, so I got a test tomorrow.
No pressure.
Yeah.
He'll pass it.
But no, I eventually I do want to open something with a salon, but I want it to be separate,
Oh,
like in the same area but separate.
separate, different.
Yeah.
Because it's two different clients, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
And conversations.
Unless when he
and-
dyes his hair, it's just random guy that wants to dye his hair. What color did you have it last time?
I did platinum, bro.
Was it platinum?
Platinum. I mean, it was like the ghetto version of platinum.
It's almost there.
Almost there.
Almost. Alright guys, welcome back everybody to Living the Dream with Luis and Ray. Today we have a pretty good setup here. We have 4 guests today, which is our first time having 4 guests, and we're excited so we can try it out. Today we have Edgar, Lupe, Mario, and Omar from Snupchop. Did I say that right?
Or Snupchop.
Snupchop. It's like Snoop Dogg.
Like Snoop Dogg.
Like Snoop Dogg almost.
Where are you guys located?
We're in on the back of the Woodlands on 1488. The back of the Woodlands on 1488.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Back of the Woodlands. What street is that? Like Kirkendall? Where,
It's
further
on
back?
Tamina.
Tamina?
Yeah.
Tamina.
It's like behind the second HEB on 1488.
Yeah, so it's like 14
Mm.
minutes into 1488.
Are you sure it's not like an hour? It's like, it feels long. But I think it's just the traffic that makes it feel.
Yeah, it's the traffic.
And
Yeah.
the lights.
The lights.
Like last
Like
time I
20
went, the
lights
first time
come
when I
down.
went, and I was like, oh, it's 1488 is down the road, and I was like, all right, well, I should probably get going now. It's like 15 minutes away or 10 minutes away, and I looked and I was like, oh snap, it's like in there, and I think he said it's by the HEB, so I was thinking the first HEB,
Yeah, there's
but it's the second HEB
Yeah, the second.
before you get to Magnolia. It's a pretty good shop. It's upstairs. I like that.
Yeah.
What made you get it upstairs?
It
Or
was
is it
just it was available and it was actually I was looking for a suite
Hmm.
and they just kept showing me all these different places, and when they showed me that upstairs I was hesitant because it's upstairs, because
Right.
you have people that like older gentlemen that come in and they have a hard time coming upstairs,
Right.
but the price and the opportunity, I just felt like
It was good.
yeah,
That's
might as
fine.
well take it, you know.
Why not Conroe? Or do
So-
you live over there? Maybe?
No,
Okay.
I live here in Conroe.
Okay.
So I actually started off in Conroe.
Oh, okay.
Well, I started in Willis on Willis Haircuts. It used to be called something else back then.
By 75?
On 75 and
What else is there?
It's 1097.
1097. Oh, 1097. 2 roads. Main 2 roads.
830 and
Pero es con
1097.
esta, la señora.
Con Lily.
Yeah, she's
Lily.
tall.
Yeah.
Swole. I
Uh,
hadn't seen her, I hadn't seen her
Yeah.
in years, pero la vi at where I go right
I don't
here
know how to
sometimes.
take that. I don't know.
Well, she's a big lady.
Oh,
And she
no.
was telling me the stories about she got in a fight or something, and
Damn.
there's this issues, and I was like, dang, yeah, you're still the same Lily that I remember
Yeah.
like 10 years ago when I used to go. Because she used to be with Bea at another one, like a little bit more down, 75.
yeah, yeah.
That's where I met her.
So I never met her, but yeah, I worked with Lily.
Oh, okay. And then from there, you moved, you found.
I
came to
moved
Conroe.
downtown Conroe, Mr. Sal's barbershop. That one is right beside the church. And
The First Baptist Church.
Yes.
Yeah. On what's it called? It's not Davis. It's the other side, the one that goes towards.
Next to the Dragon Ball Sea,
No,
No.
it's on the opposite.
on the opposite side.
So where the church is at, and then the new courthouse.
Oh.
It's like 105 in Pacific, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's what
okay.
it's called. Yeah.
Pacific.
Oh, is it still there?
It's still
Yeah,
there.
he's still
Okay,
there.
okay.
Yeah, it's just him by himself.
Oh.
So I was actually trying to work at the one by Dragon Ball Z.
Mm.
and the GPS just took me to the wrong one whenever I asked for
A direction.
work. Yeah.
Alright. Oh, nice. And because that one's been there for a long time too, the one next to Dragon Ball Z. I saw a
That
sign.
I think that's the oldest in Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Dang.
That is
Yeah.
the oldest
Pretty
in
old.
Conroe.
No, I think it's in Texas.
Texas.
yeah.
Texas.
That's awesome.
It's something. It's pretty old.
Yeah, I walked in there. I was like, "Oh, these smells."
It's like the older smell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that when I go here to the print shop.
Oh yeah,
And
those are some
I
old
met a guy
smells.
that works there. He comes here and we came comfortable. And I was like, hey, does it kind of smell funny in there? He's
The
like, we
speed
get
printing?
that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's just the older smell, just the old equipment. And I was like, I don't know. You know, but they do real good work there.
Yeah.
So then you were in Conroe, and then what made you start looking into branching out, or is that something you always wanted?
So, it was actually a hard beginning as a barber. So I guess my story kind of starts with I graduated high school in 2005, and I didn't know what to do with my life. So I kind of became a bum, just playing soccer. I did have a job as a machinist for a little bit, but I didn't.
That's a bum, being a machinist and playing soccer.
Well, it was for a little bit though, and
Okay.
I didn't like the lifestyle. Like it was 6 days a week, 12-hour days. I was single at the time, and I was like, man, how can you live a life? Like, where am I gonna meet a girl? How I couldn't even afford to live off of the paychecks at the time.
Right.
So I worked for probably like 4 or 5 months, and I quit.
Yeah,
And
screw
That's
yeah, it was-
good. 4 or 5 months. It took me like 10 years
Like 10 years.
this to realize that.
to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I signed up for the Army, but I didn't want to leave right away because I was kind of nervous, you know? Yeah, I was like, let me wait till like next year. And they're like, well, you're going to miss out on all this bonus. I think it was like $13,000. And I was like, well, that's fine. Like, I didn't know what to do with that money anyways,
Right.
you know?
That's how they
So
teach you.
yeah, I didn't leave until January 2007. And the idea was that I wanted discipline, and I wanted to actually go to college.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to pay for it because I didn't know if I was actually going to finish it.
Smart.
Who told you that you needed to do all that? Yourself, or did you have
No, my high school friends, they all left to the Army right after high school.
Mhm.
And I just stayed behind with my friend Christian and Christian Gomez. So he didn't have papers, you know, so he was actually wanting to go to the military.
Right.
And I just stuck behind him.
But they would take people that were.
So he didn't have like residency or something like that. It was pretty hard for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just what I've heard back in the day that some people would like get signed up and get everything, come back, and then still have an issue getting residency or getting,
Mhm.
and they're like, I think it was like Univision, and like some people try to like cover the story or whatever, and that's how I heard about it. But just that they went, fought or whatever, and then they're like, well, still gotta kick you over to the other side because you're not
Oh,
from
man.
here.
That happened a lot.
Yeah, and it's like that's crazy.
No, that's terrible.
It is really, really bad. But I've seen that before. It's like, oh, you can fight for us, but you can go die for us, but you're not gonna get no benefits or nothing else from after that.
No.
That cabrón. So then you stayed with Christian.
Yeah, I stayed with Christian, and I started seeing my friends come back. Giovanni, Daniel, Saul was in the Army for a little bit.
So tattoo guy. Remember Saul?
Saul Acosta.
Huh? Saul? No.
Yeah, tattoo guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were both there. That's
Yeah.
how I know all these guys because of Saul.
Yeah, and I started seeing that they had a little bit of money and like they looked stable. You know, they started buying new trucks, and
You're like, I want that.
so I was like, man, that seems pretty cool. Like I didn't think that I could even afford to have a new vehicle. Like it was kind of I had a weird mindset, you know, like this poor man's mindset.
You know, we've talked about that here a lot where we feel like the Hispanic community, when you grow up, younger age, your parents just tell you work, right? You have to work, pay the bills, work, pay the bills. So we're raised with that mentality, like that's all I can do and that's all I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, what you're saying now that you kind of grow up with that mindset, like I'll never be able to afford a new truck. I'm just going to be like my parents or like my grandparents and just barely get by.
Yeah. Yeah, when you saw somebody with like a nice vehicle, you were like, man, they must be drug dealers or something.
Somebody was.
Yeah.
And we covered that. And then that made you be like, all right, I'm going to go.
Yeah, so that, I was nervous though, like up until the day that because I didn't even know when I was supposed to leave anymore.
Mm.
So I went to the recruiter's office one day and I was like, hey man, when do I leave? And they're like, who are you? And I was like, I'm Edgar Merlos. They're like, we've been looking for you. You actually leave today.
Oh.
So it was one of those like shocking moments.
Like, my one.
So I was like, can I call my mom, my dad, like let them know?
It might feel like you were in jail or something. Like they're taking me. They wouldn't let you go or what?
Well, so I knew that you could still like back down from it. And my parents were divorced at this time. They've been divorced, but so I called my mom and I told her, and the whole time she didn't believe that I had signed up for the Army. Because she was like, you didn't sign up for the Army, man. You're a bum. You're just maybe trying to hurt my feelings or something.
Right.
And then, she started crying. Like she was, I guess it hit her.
Right.
When you say bum, do you mean like flojo or
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
a flojo. Like I used to just, I guess, smoke a lot of weed and hang out with friends. And
Play some-
I sold my car, and I would just ride my bike
Yeah, that's a
for
bum.
like 6 months. Yeah, like
Okay, that's a bum.
take my little backpack with a soccer ball in the back, you know.
Good old days. Dang. Life was so simple back then.
Yeah, yeah. And told my dad, and he had started dating this lady that was his second wife at the time. I was like, man, Dad, I really don't want to go. He was like, I'll stay back, I'll work, I'll help you pay off the house. And he's like, nah, son. He's like, be a man. He's like, you signed up for it,
Do it.
you gotta go. And I was like, dang. So that kind of got me. I don't know, like I was bummed out, but at the same time I was like, all right, I gotta face life, you know.
Right.
So whenever I took
How old
off,
were you about?
I was 19.
19. Okay.
19. Yeah, so when I took off, that's actually where I met my wife in the military.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you got deployed right away, or when you say you're like you're leaving today, where are we going? Or like to boot camp or
To boot camp,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from boot camp, you got deployed, or you stayed here? Or?
No, so the military, I think a lot of Hispanics don't know how the military works. Because it's actually, you do your basic training, that's about 9 weeks. And then from there, you're going to do your school part of it, your AIT. That depends on your career, like how long it's going to take. But I think mine was about 3-4 months.
And so you picked, or you assigned?
No, I picked.
Okay.
I was a chemical specialist. So I was in Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood. So you got to travel a little bit. So I started off in Kentucky, and then Missouri, and then from there, I knew that we were going to deploy. And I was like, man, I'm not really trying to deploy. I signed a 3-year contract,
Right.
and I'm wanting to go to college.
Right.
So I'm trying to survive here, you know? And so I signed up for airborne because some recruiters came through, and those are when you jump out of airplanes and stuff.
Oof.
So I was like, dang, like, I don't want to do it, but I don't want to deploy. And I
Also,
knew,
it was one or the other.
yeah, because I was going to go to Fort Hood, and that was guaranteed that, like, as soon as I get there, I was going to deploy.
Almost.
And it's Texas. I was like, I don't want to be in Texas. I just came from Texas.
Right.
So I went to airborne school, and then that was 2 weeks. So I was like, they gave me orders to Fort Hood again, which is back here in Texas. And I was like, dang, what else can I do? And
Just random stuff.
yeah,
Anything.
Accommodate.
Maybe clean the floor or something with the toothbrush. Maybe something.
They wanted him to come back to Texas.
they wanted me in Texas. So then the Ranger recruiter comes through, and I was like, man, this is tough. So I seen a couple guys, they ended up signing up for it. So I was like, well, might as well, you know,
Right.
go get some more training. So I signed up for the Rangers of RIP, the Ranger Doctorate Program. And that's when my eyes kind of started being open, because the regular Army, what they call it, and then being in like a special unit like the Rangers, the workouts, everything was so different.
More
And
intense.
it's intense. But it was crazy because it's like, it's intense up until like 4:30 p.m. and then they just release you. And then you have like this regular life, but then you got to come back to this like extreme military discipline
Like every day.
every day.
Every
Well,
day?
5 days a week.
5 days a
You
week.
got the weekends off.
Like 6 a.m. be there, 5 a.m. be there, or
We were there like 5:30 in the morning.
till 4:30. Just
Till
going,
4:30.
working out, doing
Work-
stuff, shooting.
Working out.
doing-
Not really like shooting a lot, because that also you have like times for that.
Mhm.
Like you might go like 2 days every 3 months to go train on that.
And through there, when you're going through your boot camp or these intense workouts, were they doing? We've heard this before from a Air Force guy, and then somebody else that was a Marine. That it's like they really try to they give you this psychological like mess with you as far as like get up, do your bed, do your shoes, take off your shoes, put on your shoes, take off your shoes. Did you go through all that mental training? Is it training or what was it?
It's like
Yeah,
at
it's
the
like
very
conditioning.
beginning. Like I think they kind of break you down first
Mm-hmm.
to where like they, like I said, like they, it's like a clean slate. Like
Mhm.
they try to break down all your bad habits and things like that, and train you to this new discipline and new standards and things like that at the very beginning. And then after that, once they teach you all of that, like they expect you to take over and you're becoming responsible, and that's your standard now. Like they mold you so that now you become that, you know. And then so now it's like now they'll go by and they inspect here and there, but at the very beginning it's like they do like have to make you feel like the lowest of the lowest, so that you learn how to like obey and kind of like respect and build that up. And they build you up first. It's like
They smash you.
yeah, and then they build you up little by little,
Okay.
you know,
And
where
you
you
went
start
through that, too?
believing you start
Sounds
believing in
exciting.
yourself, like you can do
Like,
these
I want
things, you know.
I don't want that at all.
Like I wanted it, you know, because
Yeah.
I was like, I have a lot of bad habits and bad
That's
behaviors.
good, man, because a lot of people wouldn't
Right.
want that, you know, and like that's real good, and that shows a lot of maturity at that time, because I would have been like, screw that, I'm living life, I'm driving around my bike playing soccer.
Yeah.
That'd be good. I was at that time at 19. No, I was 20. Anthony was born at 20, so at 20 I was already a dad. I was like, damn. I can't have no more fun. So I had to mature. So you went through all that, and you never got deployed then?
No, I did end up
Oh, you
getting
did?
deployed.
Chingao.
So I was, I'd say like 4 or 5 months into the program. It's like every 4 months they send a new class into the actual Ranger program. So as soon as I was about to get in there, I ended up fracturing my wrist.
Is that a good thing?
It ended up being good for me
Okay.
because I got to meet a lot of like Rangers that were coming back from deployments, and young guys, you know, 21 to 23, and they were already injured. Like they had back injuries, they concussions, they had PTSD. So I started thinking about it, and then like when you talk about the missions, a lot of times they had to go do stuff that they didn't even know why they were doing. It was just following orders. So I was like,
And
man,
you're trained almost not to question that, right? You're like,
well, yeah,
this is
you're
what
just a
supposed-
soldier. You're just supposed to follow orders.
No matter what.
Yeah. And if you go against it, I mean, at this point, you could get penalized, you know, go to jail, things like that.
Oh, dude.
Especially for something big like that, you know.
You didn't know that?
No.
That's what it means.
Well, that's what I learned. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be like, no, I don't want to go do that, but I'd just be like, well, why are we doing this? Well,
Go to jail.
you know, like,
Kick
oh,
your
shit.
dad.
Don't ask questions. But I guess, like y'all said, getting molded to that, you're like, well, this is what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do. I'm supposed to listen to this guy or her.
Word.
Yeah, and much respect to those guys, you know. But
Yeah.
for me, like what I wanted out of life, I was like, I want to do something that's gonna help people. I can't see myself being in this position for 20 years. Yeah, I might be helping the country, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the type I need to know what exactly I'm doing when I'm doing it. So I ended up getting out, and then I got orders to Fort Bragg, but I actually wasn't supposed to be in the 82nd Airborne. I was the one guy that was supposed to go to COSCOM, which those guys are attached to the Special Forces units, and they're more like, how do I say it? They kind of assist them, you know. But they dropped me off in the 82nd Airborne, and they ended up just registering me in. And I was lucky because that's where I got to meet my wife.
Nice.
But
That's awesome.
yeah, she
Was
changed
it
my
love at
life.
first sight? Was he kind of annoying?
No.
No. No. He's always been chill. Just the way he is still.
She
So-
used to run away from me.
Get over here.
Yeah,
So-
I tried to talk to her, she ran away.
So after that, you did 4 years then total?
I did 3.
3. Oh,
Three.
that was, dang, all this in 3 years.
Yeah, so we basically once you get to your unit, it becomes a job. So you do work out in the morning from 7 to 8. You gotta be there a little early, but 7 to 8, and then you go eat, and then you come back to work, and then your job, whatever it is, like mine, I was in charge of just chemical equipment, so it was like administration work, and I worked with the supply, and with S1 operations, and the same thing. About 4:30, you were out. You live in dorms, which are like apartments, like pretty nice apartments,
Okay.
and then it's basically like being in college, like a lot of parties, a lot of
Oh, nice.
young people with money. Yeah.
Nice.
You got a paycheck?
Yeah.
You get paid.
You get
right?
paid every 2 weeks.
And so you said you didn't get deployed. Deployed, does that mean like go overseas?
So I did after a year. So
Oh, okay.
2008 November to 2009 November.
Whole year.
Yeah,
Where'd you go?
to Iraq back
Yeah,
then.
that was in 2008 during the Iraqi
Mhm.
What were you doing over there?
intervention.
So this was a transition time from George Bush Jr. to Obama.
Mm.
So that's why I was lucky, because like the deployment before the one I went to, you still saw a lot of combat. But when Obama came in, it was like you're rebuilding, so
Mm.
you're just helping train the Iraqi people to take over their own country,
Right.
basically.
Right.
So we were just there assisting, training them. We still got hit with a lot of like mortars, and we didn't get directly shot at.
Right.
It was more just people. You didn't know who your enemy was, so you were always
crazy.
on. Yeah.
It's a scary feeling, man.
That's crazy. That's what Danny said. Was it Danny? I think.
Daniel Ayala?
No, he was in the Air Force.
Okay.
But yeah, oh no, it was it Zach? One of them said the same thing, that you like walking through there, like you don't know who's actually there that you're helping, who's there like waiting for you to just like turn around or something, and having that mindset of not knowing who's the difference,
Choosing between like who.
who's who,
Like,
who's
is he-
really like trying to be nice to me or who's setting me up, and that's crazy.
Well, it's interesting because like you don't even know the language, like we didn't even get trained in that. So, but it reminded me a lot of like Latin America, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Like third world countries, they're all kind of the same.
Mm.
So it's
That's-
just
As far as like the culture or just how they
just
live,
everything, the way they live, the culture. Of course, the way they dress is a little different.
Right.
But the streets and stuff, the people, a lot of markets everywhere. People just walking around. Reminded me of like Honduras, Mexico, parts of it.
Conroe.
Yeah.
Conroe Flea Market. Country.
Yeah, and it was just people trying to live, you know.
Right.
And the same thing, like they had people that were, let's say, attacking us, but then at the same time they couldn't give them up. The civilians couldn't give them up because they were threatening their own family, you know.
Mm.
So it's like one of those things where you just try to survive, you know.
That's the goal. Just
Yeah.
try to survive. So you came back, you leave the forces, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go cut hair.
No.
No?
So
And then let me go open a business real quick.
luckily,
I'm ready.
there
I'm
was
ready.
a university right there in North Carolina,
Okay.
about 30 minutes away from where we were stationed at. My wife still had a year left in her contract. So when I got out, I just signed up for the school. And Brian, my brother, he was there living with us as well. He had came in. My dad was living with us too because he got sick. He got lupus, so he became our dependent. So whenever I went to school, the only thing that I could think of at that time was like, all right, I've always wanted to improve my mindset. And I was like, how do people that are successful think, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing a lot of research on just like brain activity and things that you could take to improve your mental state and memorization and learning. So I wanted to be
Weed. No.
no,
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
opposite, bro.
the opposite.
Weed helps a little bit.
Makes you,
No?
memory loss.
Oh,
Makes you forget things, man.
Oh, CBD helps.
Shout out the shirt. Shout out
Shout
the
out
pot.
to-
Shout out to
For
Melody.
sure.
Put me on there. Click the Alright. So then, what'd you figure out? What were the
So-
answers?
I decided to take chemistry as a major and math as a minor, and try to go through like the pharmacy, like become a pharmacist. I was like, I'm gonna become a doctor.
Drug dealer, a legal drug dealer.
Hey,
Yeah.
he was secretly setting up the plan, bro.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't know, through school, I ended up going to a psychiatrist and got on ADHD medication because the same thing. I was like, man, I don't think I'm smart,
Hmm.
so I need some help, you know.
Right.
And it was kind of crazy because I had good insurance because I was a spouse, so we get all the TRICARE stuff from the military. So they gave me medication. They didn't even give me a test. They were like,
Yeah.
"All right, yeah, you got ADHD."
Yeah, it looks like you do.
Yeah. They put me on, I think it was like 70 grams of, or milligrams, I don't remember, Vyvanse.
Mm.
That's strong,
And
no? That's strong.
I have no idea.
Probably milligrams.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they don't start you off like that though, but it,
Yeah.
it did
It
get up to
built
that.
up little by little. Yeah.
But what were you feeling, or what made you think you had ADHD, or what? Like, is that just based on the research you were doing, or?
Focusing.
And just to focus to, because I was like, I know that I have a hard time just like reading a book or something. And I didn't really think I was that smart at all. I thought I was just like an average dude who was just getting by life, you know?
Just
Yeah.
because.
Did you know smart people?
I didn't really know smart people. That was another thing. Like, I knew a lot of hard workers, people
Mhm.
that that's all they did, you know, it's like in chinga.
Work,
like,
work.
Yeah,
That's what we're grinding. That's what's in our head. Just work.
just
Don't
work.
question and just work.
Yeah.
So that medicine started to help, or is it medicine? Is it called medicine?
Medicine.
Medicine.
I guess.
Prescriptions. Yeah.
Prescriptions.
Drugs.
Oh.
Did those drugs help you?
It definitely helped me. Like,
And helped you as in you were able to like listen more in school, pay attention more, memorize more things, all that good stuff.
so, yeah, I think the downside to it was it made me like antisocial. So I was like locked up in my own head at the same time. And I'd go to the library for like 8 hours a day and just study. Yeah, just study.
It's too long.
Dang, I never
And
studied.
you,
Never studied.
Never studied.
He's
Yeah.
like, never studied, not even
So I started-
an
eight
hour.
minutes, not even 8 minutes.
Yeah, I was like 8 hours, just like
Dang.
all day long. Like I'd go to
Just sucking
class,
it all
come
in.
back, just study. But since I was still under the TRICARE, which was the military insurance and stuff,
Mhm.
I think it was like every six months we would get like blood work, and they did tell me that I had like something with my liver, because I guess that's the way that the medicine gets processed.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So it got me nervous. So I was like, all right, let me develop habits, because I started studying.
This guy has all the answers to himself.
Yeah,
Just
so you had to
self-motivated.
figure it out.
Yeah, I was like, let me develop
That's
habits
good.
on how to study, because I need to get off of this stuff, you know.
Right.
But let me use it to develop the habits first. I'll use it for a year.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because they had the school I went to, Methodist University, they had a 3rd division NCAA soccer team. And I was like, man, I want to play soccer. Like,
Right.
I want to see if I can
I
get
still
into
got
this, you know. So I did train like really hard, and I ended up making a team,
Oh, nice. That's dope.
which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. It was like,
Proud of you, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
well,
like-
the thing is because sorry to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but because he actually didn't make it like when he did the trial work the first time, and he trained himself like really hard, where like the coach noticed it,
Mm.
like he just started training himself, and then he actually made the cut, like after that.
yeah, I didn't get to go to the first tryout
Yeah.
because I took summer classes and I was finishing a test, and there was like a specific time you had to go. So as soon as I finished the test, I ran over there, and the coach was like, "No, too bad." So I had to wait a whole semester,
Dang.
yeah, to do a tryout. So
And again, just self-motivating yourself.
yeah,
to just
yeah,
work.
Yeah.
Screw that. That's hard for me still.
You had a lot of those moments where it was like last minute thing, right? Like you're whenever you got not deployed, but whenever you were signed up, you're like last minute, like
yeah.
what happened? And then now with the tryouts, you know, it's like last minute you went in, but this time they said no.
Yeah, yeah.
But you think you would have made it if they would have said yes? Like, hey, you know.
Were you ready the first time?
So, no, I knew I was ready the first time, but at the same time I was 23, and I knew that like for professional, 23 was like if you didn't make it by 23, you weren't gonna be pro.
Mm.
Chances were really low.
Right.
But all I wanted to do was just prove to myself that I could play in college at least, you know,
Mhm.
that level. But everything happens for a reason. I knew that if I played soccer, I had already been away from my wife for a year for deployment. And then I ended up making it to a 2nd division team. I did a tryout for that. But the pay was real bad. It was like $300 a month. You had to go train all the way in the capital. think it's like 3-4 times a week. So they were like, well, we can just keep you here with a foster family. And I was like, well, the sacrifice to me wasn't worth it. I had 2 kids. I'm married.
Right.
And I need to worry about my career. Like, this is like kids stuff at this time, you know? It's like, I need to be a man.
At 23? At 23?
Yeah, because I
like those memes, it's like, hey, my mom at 23, si ya tengo ganado, ya tengo una casa,
Yeah.
tengo una esposa.
yeah,
And it's like me at 23. It's like, okay, who's next at Call of Duty?
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I didn't really want all that. It just
Right.
kind of happened, you know?
Right.
We were taking care of, like, me and my wife were taking care of my dad, my brother Brian at the time too. He's trying to figure out life. So to me, I come from that mindset of like, man, I was a bum not too long ago, to where like now I have to take care of all these people.
It's crazy.
So I'm trying to figure it out, you know? So I think that's where part of the motivation came too, is like, well, my dad's 48. He's basically broken down to where he's not allowed to work anymore. He has this house, and then he was like a kid, like we were giving him an allowance, and then he just started dating. So it's like, so we're like, man, this is supposed to help you out, you know?
Like a role switch.
Yeah. So I felt like a dad, you know. I was like, man, now I gotta watch my dad. So he ended up dating, which is his wife now. They've been married for almost 10 years or so. And he was just gonna give up the house here in Texas, and he wanted just to move into like a mobile home, and he wasn't in the right state of mind. So I was like, man, look, you owe like $15,000 on the house. This is
Nothing
crazy.
This time.
Yeah, I was like, this is crazy. I was
Right.
like, take out your retirement, because he had a teacher retirement fund.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had like, I forget, probably like $40,000-$50,000 in there. I was like, take it out. He was like, well, I'm gonna lose like 20%. I was like, it doesn't matter. Take it out and pay off the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he did. So we ended up coming back to Texas. Because I didn't want him to lose the house, because I was like, well, the house is gonna help you. Like, you can rent it out.
Mm-hmm.
You can have, like, it's gonna help you, which is in turn gonna help me, because I need to get rid of this
It's a
weight. You
win-win.
know?
It's a win-win for all of us.
I was like, I love my dad, but I also need to get rid of some
It
weight.
was a
you
good
know?
financial decision.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because, I mean, now it's, do you still have it? Do y'all still have it? Or
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
my
mean,
dad
now it's
still lives
worth a lot more.
Oh,
Worth
yeah.
way more than even the 45,000 that he would have taken out, you know?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's what people get confused. They see the short term, like if I sell it, I'll make money now, instead of thinking the long term, like you were thinking. Like long term is
Well,
like,
he wasn't even gonna sell it.
Oh.
He was just gonna stop paying it.
Yeah, it's going to
Oh,
repo
damn.
it.
Just
Yeah.
Foreclose
Just
it.
let
Just
it
get
ride.
out his
Hey.
life in Texas and just start somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And if any of you are gonna leave y'all's property, let me know. We'll pick it up. We'll get
We'll
it.
pay your last mortgage.
15,000. We'll pay the last 3 payments.
Right?
So then you went through all that, and then how'd you get to barbershop? Like,
Yeah. So when I came back to Texas, I was like, man, this being in school for the initial idea of becoming a doctor, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. I was like,
that's a lot of work.
so I need to change my career. So I jumped into psychology, and me and my wife were
Tampoco.
discussing. Yeah, I was like,
Tampoco.
no, well, it was I was thinking that I'm gonna end up having to go back into the military,
Right.
but I was like, I want to go back as an officer, and then they had a program that where you could learn Arabic, so that became a minor. So
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
but I was like, but I really don't want to go back into the military. That's all I know
That's one.
at this point, you know.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
I think that's what somebody told us that too. Sometimes people just get stuck in it because they've done it for 4 to 6 years, and they're like, "All right, my contract's up. What do I do? All right, let me just sign up for another 4 years,
Mhm.
Yeah.
6 years, and they just kind of stay in that cycle and going from there." So you've gone through all this. I wanted to just point it out. Like a lot of times, people want to know the answer at 18 or 19. Like, what am I doing the rest of my life? You know, and it's important to understand that you don't have to know right away, right? You did military, then you went and did you're gonna be a drug dealer, a legal drug dealer, and then you're just still going through life, and life's hitting you, right? You get not in a bad way or a good way, but it's like you're getting married, you got kids, going through life issues, but you're still trying to figure out what you're trying to do. And I think that's important because, like, my sister just turned 18, and she's like, before I graduate, I'm getting jam-packed. Like, I need to know what I'm going to college for. Like, I need to know And I tell her, like, relax, like, you don't have to, like, it's gonna take you a while. I mean, I went through a whole bunch of jobs, whole bunch of side hustles until I'm finally like 32. I'm like, all right, I think this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So I think that's good that you're pointing that out and for people that are out there to understand that you don't have to know right away what you're gonna do. So like you guys might be mechanic shops here in the next few years. Just switch it all up.
Nah, I don't think so.
Be a pediatrician or something.
I would definitely say it takes like that trial and error phase to kind of definitely understand where you want to be
Right.
and where you want to end up. You know, it's definitely crazy just going through all those moments because you definitely get to understand who you are as a person.
Right.
But then you also understand, all right, what can I do to get to these, areas? And
Right. And Luis, it took you 10 years to realize?
No, I mean, it took me 11 years to get my degree.
Oh, damn.
Hey,
But,
congrats though. You
yeah.
got it.
At least you got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same story as you, but without the military. So you got to figure it out on your own. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to like change jobs because it doesn't feel your kind of like what you want. You get like you're in this job and you're like I don't like it. I hate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the money, you're like, it's good money, and then you're like, no, it's not good money.
Mhm.
Seems like good money at one point.
Correct, yeah, because
Right.
like when I was doing NDT, I think I was like at 23 an hour. I was like, hell yeah, motherfuckers, 23 an hour. And I was like, what the hell is this check? Like, what the hell? My money's leaving me. I'm driving all the way to Beltway, and I'm like, screw this. I might as well get something in Conroe for $15 an hour and probably make more money. But I think that's the difference, that it sounds like a lot when you say it an hour, right?
Yeah.
And then once, all these
Taxes taken out,
it's taken out, and then insurance and dental insurance and a 401k. You're like,
Well, that was
damn it, boy.
that was one of the things that I noticed was I was like, man, nobody's really paying attention to how much your yearly gross is, Because when my dad, like his last year working, he was making $12 an hour as a janitor for I think Hawk, the school Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, that's like $24,000 a year or something like that. Like
Yeah.
it was low,
Mhm.
So my goal in life was to reach 50. Like that, I was gonna be happy doing 50,000 a year.
That's a good number.
Yeah.
50 was my goal too at one point.
Yeah, 50
You're like,
was.
Man, that's middle class,
Yeah.
It's huge.
Barely.
I was like, I could buy a house. I was
Right.
excited. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
because back then it was like, no, cómprate un terreno, like una trailita.
Right. Just survive.
Have
Which
you-
nothing wrong with that
Right,
at all,
right,
you know.
right.
If you look at the numbers for what that is, it was like a terreno was like probably like 20,000, 30,000. And a trailer was like 8,000, maybe 10,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was achievable
Right.
for us, that were making
Yeah.
25, 30,000. It was like, okay, that makes sense if I just work like 4 or 5 years straight and save up,
Save up.
I can do it.
and then but then there's a lot of people que se aprovechan, and they
Right.
give you those terrenos with high interest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Things that
sure.
you didn't-
Flood zone
yeah.
too. But I think it's just education. Just
Yeah.
learning what you're buying. Because even me, when I'm on Facebook, I'm like, dang, that looks cheap, and I look into it, I'm like, man, that thing's like way the hell. Like, yes, I put Conroe near Conroe.
Yeah,
It's way
you
over
put
there.
that filter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be looking at some of these, and some was like 100% flood zone free. I'm like, man, there's not a house like 50 miles from there. How do you know it's flood zone?
Flood zone,
It's
right?
free. So you realize that, and you're like,
Well, so while I was in school at Sam Houston, that's where I did my next 2 years.
damn,
Um,
school.
Yeah,
Put us
and luckily I was getting paid monthly, so it was like a $1,700 check. No, $1,100 at Sam Houston. So I was making that work, and my wife was going to school too at the time. She had just gone out, so I started. I guess because I got off the medication, my grades started taking a little bit of a hit. So it went from being like a super straight A student to like I got my first B. And I was like, man, I don't know, like I want to try to be the best that I can,
Right.
but at this rate, and I started doing the math, I was like, it's going to take me like 5 years to finish school. 5 years total. I was like, my kids are getting older. We don't have a house. I hated the living conditions living with my dad because it was just a mess. It was like, and then you're living under somebody else's rules, and to me, he's kind of a hoarder. So, and I like to live more of a simple, like minimalist If I don't need something, I don't want it. Like,
There you go.
yeah, so I'm always giving away stuff all the time.
I'll take whatever.
Yeah. But
I love bills.
Except for the bills.
yeah, I went to a job
Kick
fair.
the bills and the kids. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a job fair and I met a firefighter, and he told me, he's like, man, you'd be perfect for this.
Damn. Another drink.
So yeah, so I ended up taking. I was like, all right, well, I talked to my wife and I was like, let me take a semester off and let me try this firefighter thing. And it was kind of a waste of a time, because I thought that I needed to get out of school to be doing the fire, but it was just a process. It was just like entregando papers here and there. And then they left me as a babysitter, because my brother Jonathan moved in with us because he started saving money, so he wanted to buy a house. And he has 2 kids, and then my 2 kids, and then my sister would have my dad watch her daughter.
Technically,
So all of a
you're
sudden
watching.
I became a babysitter for 5 kids.
It's like, what the hell?
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, I can't do this. I was like freaking out.
I'm an army
The house
man,
was a
man.
mess, you know.
I'm an army man.
All these little kids.
Not a
running around.
nanny.
It just kept on piling up with all these responsibilities, and you can tell that he was like,
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm
Working
not
so
doing
hard.
nothing with my life.
Yeah, like all this crap that I'm trying to figure out. And
I don't know how women do it, like moms, because it's like nonstop. You gotta be like getting ready for the next meal, and you gotta be changing diapers, and you gotta like the kids are fighting
24-hour
and
job.
jumping around. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I
Especially
give it up
under-
to my wife.
Under 2, right? Under 3?
Oh yeah,
oh, yeah.
and
My kids are.
but you know that
They're good.
that was pretty cool though, because my brother got to save like a huge chunk of money by living with us,
That's good.
which is pretty cool. Like I tell people, I'm like, man, y'all gotta sacrifice, you know,
Right.
like
A lot of
that's-
people don't want to do that, man.
yeah.
A lot of people want like the new cars, the new things, and they don't want to like save for that big goal. You know, and
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. Even me, and I've said it here plenty of times when people always tell me, "Why don't you have a badass truck by now?" I'm like, "Why? Are
Yeah.
you crazy? Like
paid off
that's
already, it's
expensive."
paid
Like,
off.
no, screw that. And I just learned some dude that I know, he got a $1,200 truck payment last month, and I'm like, "Why, bro?" He's like,
Jesus.
"Well, I mean, I think I can pay it." I was like,
I
"What
think."
the fuck?"
Well, I
Like,
tell people, I'm like, I don't try to tell them how to live their life, but if they're struggling or they're like stressed out, then it's like, all right, well, if you don't want to be in this situation, then you do have to make cuts, you know,
right.
to
But-
make it happen. But
What are people gonna say?
oh yeah,
What are people gonna judge them? Their Instagram posts aren't gonna look cool because they don't have that new truck.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I think
but that's
the
something
biggest
they
thing.
have to, you know.
Correct.
You can't try to fix everybody.
Right. So that's one thing I've learned, and especially like in the last 2 years or so, is I try to help. Well, not help, but I try to guide everybody. Like, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Like, I need to just accept people, and whoever wants to help will come ask me.
Yeah,
Or whatever,
Yeah.
instead of me just trying to push my beliefs on everybody.
yeah. Because I actually get happy for people like if they have nice things, and they can afford it. They're living the life that they want.
Right.
Man, good for you, you know. For me, like, I try to live like a different way. Like, I actually want more time, you know. Like, I'm trying to get time
There you
back.
go.
Wait, look at me.
Because y'all judge me for that.
Pin that one.
That's my biggest thing now is just time.
Something
Yeah.
you can't buy, something you
Right,
can't
like I
get back.
You know, like sometimes I mean I could be at the stores more, but then like I like doing this. You know,
Yeah.
being able to do stuff like this and just being
Right.
more with the kids and be more like an active dad instead of just
So
slaving
it
on
says, who wants to take me in so I can save some money, bro?
No, for sure.
Yeah, free tattoos. Just give me a tattoo a month.
Right.
That'll be your rent payment.
So when
I
did
guess
it
I can-
all kind of flip to
So
where you...
that summer, so I stopped going to school in January, I think 2014 or 2013. And that summer, my wife, she actually went through cosmetology school, and she was working at my mom's shop for a little bit.
Oh yeah, your
And-
mom has a shop.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that. Mm-hmm.
And my wife was stressed out because she was trying to be cool with my mom and like trying to be part of the family. But I was like, man, don't do it for that. Like, I want you to do what you want to do. She always wanted to be a nurse, so she's a nurse now. So she went back to school. And at this point, I had given up. I was like, we're going to have to go back to the army. Like, at least I am, you know? So I was like, but let me try one last thing. I was like, let me do barbering. I don't want to cut hair, but we can open up a business because in the military, like everybody needs a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so I can make a business. We're both gonna be licensed, and then I'll just be a therapist in the army, you know. So as I started, I signed up for barber school. It was like maybe 2 weeks of time frame, and it was crazy. It was on 1960. Omar actually went to the same barber school. I went to Trent Barber College.
Yeah.
And it was the good thing about it was I came with all this information from college, so I knew how to study. I knew how to do my own research.
How old were you?
I was 26.
Oh, okay.
26 when I started barber school. And this was on 1960, so it was like a good hour drive, 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing. It's like I went from school to now I'm in barber school, and it's all day long, and you see the craziest things in barber school. At least the one we went to, it was it was hood.
You pull other people shooting dice, smoking weed outside.
Oh yeah. Oh dang.
People doing
crazy
environment fluid, like you see somebody got pistol whipped in there.
What the hell?
I don't think it was crazy when I went, but
How are you? Were you mentally like, oh, okay, this is crazy, but you know, you're still chill because all the stuff that you went through, or?
So I was chill about it, but at the same time I was like, man, this is like, to me it was crazy, like seeing all like going from military, all the structure to like this is civilian world. And I hadn't seen that because I've been in college, you know, and like college kids, like they tend to do their own thing.
Right.
Like they're trying to better their life. All of a sudden I'm in barber school, and like a lot of these guys, they just want to see it as a hustle.
Right.
A lot of ex-cons in there, like, and so like you try to help them, try to talk to them, they really didn't want it. Most of them were in there for years already.
Oh damn.
And barber school was like 1,500 hours for me, so I had calculated. I was like, that'll take me like 9 months if I go every day. So as I started doing it, I finished. I didn't know if I really wanted to cut hair, but I started getting pretty good at it because I would do my own research. I'd watch YouTube videos. YouTube was like the big help for me. And I'd take my notepad and I write down every step that they did, and then I put a little flashcard, and then I'd get customers come in, and I'd put that flashcard and I'd try that step, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then next week I'd try a whole different one.
Different
So
techniques.
I went through like a bunch of different barbers and like their own style, and then I started kind of creating my own. But whenever I actually started working in Willis, it was like night and day because this is a Latino salon. So I went in there, and the owner Lily, she was getting all the customers.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there, and it's like
Nobody knows you.
I would talk to the guy. No, it was even worse. It was like all these mostly Mexican at the time, and they're used to women cutting their hair. So I run into that issue of like they must think I'm gay.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and they didn't want me to cut the hair.
Nope.
That's what everybody thought back then, though. Hey, I used to get haircuts by women only.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel macho.
I want no full touching my head.
Yeah, and I grew up with like my mom cutting my hair,
Right.
and so I was like, man, this is
Fool's gonna try to massage my head.
Get really close to him.
yeah. So I was like, dang. But we had this one little black dude came in, and nobody wanted to cut his hair, and the thing was that it wasn't that. Like the way that I saw it, was like, man, they're not used to, like, it was like Hispanic ladies, they're not used to
That style.
dealing with African American people, so they were scared of cutting their hair and messing it up. And I came from a black barber school, so I was like, hey, I'll cut his hair. And they're like, well, you sure? I'm like, all right. And that's all it took. It was like that one kid went and told his friends, and then all of a sudden I'm running the whole football team,
That's awesome.
and then the soccer team, the Mexican soccer team came through.
So you weren't leaving lines. You were doing it good.
Yeah, I knew how to fade. I just didn't know how to do like scissor work too well. So that's why I
But they
ended
don't
up.
have long enough hair.
No. But like that was one thing that I wanted to learn.
Oh, okay.
That's why I ended up going to a Mexican salon because I was like, I know that these ladies cut with scissors. I was like, I didn't want to go straight into a barbershop because most barbers at the time didn't know how to cut with scissors.
Okay.
So
That's smart. So you
This guy's
found
always
something-
using techniques and making yourself learn.
Yeah.
Right. That's why.
And putting myself in those situations,
Right.
you know, where
Because
it's
a
like,
lot of people wouldn't have. They're like, I'm gonna.
They
stick
shy
to
away
what I
from
know.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you went the opposite.
I always wanted to be well-rounded and everything.
Mm.
So then at the time it was just a walk-in only shop. But then I started noticing people were waiting for me. So I was like, all right, well, I hate like people just waiting. Because you feel the pressure. You have like this whole row of like 10, 15 people just waiting. So I would tell them, I was like, all right, well.
Were
it's
there
gonna take
any
me about-
barbers in Willis at that time?
At the time, I'm pretty sure there was a couple, like, there were guys that would come in from Houston, and in that barbershop, it was like 4 of us. Oh,
okay.
But you started getting, people were used to just doing walk-ins and just sitting whoever, or they just wait.
Right.
But for me, I didn't grow up going to barbershops. I didn't know how that was.
Waiting.
Yeah, the whole wait. Like, I didn't ever experience it.
Right.
So I get nervous. I would just like calculate. All right, well, it takes me about 30 minutes to do a haircut. So I would tell people, I was like, hey, we'll come back at like 12. I was like, just make sure you come back.
Right.
So from there, the owner, she started feeling a certain way. She thought I was stealing clientele.
Drama.
Yeah,
Drama.
but it's because there was no organization there. Like,
Right.
nobody's organized. So I was like, well, what do you want me to do? Like, they're waiting for me. They don't want nobody else to cut their hair. I was like, and I don't want them just to be here, like, it
Waiting,
doesn't-
yeah.
I was like, they have lives. Like, they could go do something else and then come back. So I write everything down in a notebook. But it got to a point where it got kind of toxic.
Right.
And
Always.
yeah, no disrespect to her.
Yeah,
you know,
no, it's just part of it.
it was a big change for her.
Right.
So I ended up moving to downtown Conroe.
Mm.
And whenever I talked to my wife about it, she was like, no, yeah, like, it's time, you know, you should move on. And I was like, well, I had been studying a little bit about barbering, and I was like, well, I don't know how to shave. Like, I've never dealt with people's beard. Like, Hispanics don't have much facial hair, you know, that you have, like, probably the most that I had seen at that time, you know. So you just line up a little mustache, you know.
That's it.
I get like 5 hairs.
That's
Yeah,
it.
and beards weren't popular at the time, you know. It just, you would see them more like on white men at this time.
Mhm.
So whenever I moved downtown Conroe, that's where with Mr. Sal I learned how to do some shaving. So it was a whole different game, and I lasted there for about 8 months, due to the fact that he was strictly on his hours. Like, he only wanted to work till 5 o'clock from 9 to 5. And in Conroe, most of my clientele at that point were Hispanic guys, so they didn't get off of work till 5.
Mm.
So you just sit there, you know, make like $300 a week. So it became kind of tough. So I told him, I was like, well, either I work more or I have to find a new place.
Right.
And, well, I had to find a new place, you know. So I went to go rent from my mom. I went to her shop.
She's still in the same spot right there.
She's
by
still in
the
the
train
same,
tracks?
yeah.
What's the name of it?
Lorena's.
Lorena. Yeah.
Lorena.
Yeah.
But she wasn't
Okay.
working. Like, it was just me there by myself. So I told her, I was like, man, like, I'm not really liking this life, like, as a barber, because it wasn't like consistent flow, and you actually had to be there. And like, if somebody didn't show up to their appointment, you miss out on money.
Right.
And it was just very stressful. So I told her, I was like, and then at the whole time I'm trying to help these younger kids who they were troubled, I would say, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I started seeing that, like, some of my customers started selling dope to come get a haircut. So that kind of affected me, you know, because I was like, well,
Drug money.
yeah, it's drug money at this time, you know. And I was like, I don't really want to be accepting that.
Bunch of cash.
Like, I don't think I'm doing something good for the community at this point, you know.
Right.
I was like, and these kids, unfortunately for them, they thought that's who they admired, you know, the drug dealers at the time.
Right. I think we all did at one point.
Yeah, because they had the nice stuff, you know. They had
Yeah.
the girls, the money, the cars.
True.
So I told my mom, I was like, well, look, I'll work for you for a year.
Es el mafioso. El mafioso.
Nope.
Es la ley.
But you were a soccer player, that's why.
Yeah.
You're in Deerwood. You guys
Yeah.
idolize anybody in Conroe.
That's where the dope houses were in Deerwood.
True. I mean,
A lot of
people
raids.
made-
Yeah, I was like, oh look, cops are here.
Yeah, people made a lot of money in doing
Oh
that.
look, football players coming in this house. The SWAT team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I knew that I wanted to work in the wilderness because I was like, I want to be around a different mind frame of people.
Right.
I was like, not that they're better. I was like, but I want to learn from them so I can actually bring it back
Get this
to the
guy.
community. Because I wanted to know it too, you know?
I
I was
be
like,
you when I grow up.
nah.
Y eso que decía que he's not smart, bro.
Right.
Right?
I was just wanting to learn more because I was like, how do these guys have they have nice businesses? They seem to live like happier lives in a sense, you know, because
Right.
like even though we were happy as Latinos, there was a lot of stress behind the scenes. You know, like you see a lot of happiness in parties, but then you go back and you look at families and everybody's fighting all the time and money is always an issue and
Screaming.
yeah, a lot of yelling, a lot of
Drama.
like, there was no real uplifting on like, hey, like you're doing good, you're a smart kid, you know,
Right.
more like man, so like this
Right,
and that.
Right.
dumb kid.
So
Be happy, have a roof.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
You're alive. Because when I was 13, I was working in the farms. And all those stories that the parents and grandparents would tell us.
yeah.
Be grateful.
Piscando frijol.
True.
Hey.
True.
But another thing too is like a lot of these guys were
Who were you looking up to? I'm sorry, I missed it when I was.
at the time. No, I wasn't
Well,
looking up.
We
I
went
was
to
just
the
like,
woodlands to try to bring back that kind of what we've talked about, trying to get Conroe better, or like the community that we're in, and learning what other areas you're doing to try to
Improve.
improve. Yeah.
And that's why you went to over there, or?
Yeah. So I ended up working for Galindo's,
Mm.
which at the time it was like a weird transition. They were Eddie's barbershop for a little bit, and then it turned to Galindo's. And from Zach, the owner, like I actually learned a lot from him. The guy, he was a smart guy,
Yeah,
you know,
Zach, yeah,
yeah,
Zach's-
real smart
yeah.
accountant at the same time. But I didn't like that the shop was open 7 days a week.
Mm.
That was one thing that I didn't like because I was like, yes, we're here for the people, for the community,
Right.
but what about the workers? Like, can they have a stable life like this? You know, because if they're already used to working, like, let's say Thursday through Monday, like, to me, I feel like I want to be able to give people Sundays and Mondays off. Sundays for sure for family time,
Right.
for church. I'm big with church.
That's good.
I believe in God, and I think that even if people don't want to go to church, I want to give people that option.
Right.
You know.
That's good.
Um,
Dang, I need to do that. I don't do that to my employees.
no, but another thing too that I noticed is that you create a little bit of a demand. Like if you're available all the time, then people are gonna show up whenever they want.
Right,
You know.
Correct.
But when you create a demand, then it kind of closes it to where it's like, well, I only have so much time to actually go if I want to get serviced by this person, you know.
Right.
So
When did you switch your mindset from being like a barber, like, you know, this is me, these are my clients, to now I want to create a business?
so it happened when I started getting too busy. But so the idea
At
was
your own place, or?
no working for Galindo's.
Oh, okay.
Like I was too busy, like I was overbooked, and the idea was like, well, if you're already like 100% booked, you have to go up on prices to
Try to filter.
basically you're creating space again, and you're getting rid of like people who just can't afford you. But I saw it as a thing of like, well,
You can't scale that. How are you gonna get to the? Are you gonna charge? How much are you gonna keep charging? You know.
well, and that was the thing. It was like, well, how high? And then I'm also getting rid of people that I want to have in my life, because this is the whole idea of why I became a barber. Is I want to help people, and these guys are coming to me. They've been following me. Like I have customers that come from Huntsville on a weekly basis, and we have a relationship. You know,
Right.
as we're friends. You know, I have guys that come from Willis all the time. From Conroe, from Spring, I had one guy who used to drive from Dallas every 2 weeks because he had a job over there, and I would tell him, I was like, man, let me find you a barber over there, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to feel like I'm putting you in this position,
Right.
but I don't know, like I love my customers, and I wanted to give them a home because I was like, I can't take care of everybody, and then there's this overflow that's just going to other people that they're not taking care of them, you know. So whenever I left, it was I wouldn't say that I wanted to own my own business. It just kind of happened based on the opportunity. Like, I wanted my own suite. But when the opportunity arose, I think God just put things in place. You know, like Omar, he was going through barber school. And he asked me, he's like, if he could work for me.
You knew him?
He was my customer.
Yeah,
Since I worked in Conroe. He's from Willis, so that's where I got.
I met him in, when he stood at his mom's. I went to get like 2 cuts there, 3 cuts, and that's when he took off to the Linda's. But I mean,
So
he
you
told me
were
where he
guys
was
selling
going.
drugs to get a haircut? Was
Nah.
that-
Honest working. Honest work now, but then he told me, I mean, I was kind of lost. Like, I guess, doing it a lot, trying to figure out life. And he told me about barbering and stuff. And he gave me a pair of clippers and some trimmers. And he's like, man, try it out on your brother and your dad. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it out. I ain't got nothing else going on in life, so.
You didn't go to college? You didn't want
Nah,
to go to college?
I didn't feel like college was for me.
Mhm.
I finished high school. I had decent grades, but
Then you said you were working like at a... Were you
I used to
working?
work. I mean, I started off working like at some place in Conroe. They used to make medical parts for. And I mean,
That's
it was-
a big thing, right? Like, there's this medical parts in Conroe
Yeah,
that they came in
out
and
there
they,
by the Lone Star.
Yeah,
College.
they started-
Renovators?
Renovators,
yeah, they
I
took
think,
over everybody. Like
80% of Conroe worked there.
Everybody worked there, bro. Who hasn't?
Mm.
Yeah. I went from there to working, and I was like, well, I thought I was gonna go to school, so I switched jobs, and I was working like a Oscar Johnson program.
damn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was taking care of kids, and that was cool, but it wasn't paying nothing.
Right.
4 hours a day, ate something an hour.
Do you remember when like the Walmart distribution came in?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was like, "Hey man, you gotta apply." They're paying like 15 an hour.
They were paying good.
They're
Not
paying
gonna
like
lie.
15,
Back in the
15
day,
20. Or Walgreens.
I tried. They
Walgreens.
didn't hire
Yeah,
me.
they didn't hire me.
Yeah,
either.
they didn't hire me
Bastards.
either. That's good though.
Or Walgreens distribution
Yeah.
also. Any
Oh, yeah.
distribution center would pay you more than any like.
Any other job. Right now it's the
Yeah.
Home Depot distribution.
Yeah.
It's new. Right here on 105. That's the new one.
They're paying decent, like $9 an hour when I started, and then I was like, man, I need to do something else besides when I was at school.
Right.
So my friend, he was working somewhere in Spring on 1960, and they're paying 13, but I was like, man, I mean, it's worth the drive, it's more money and all that, so I started working over there, and that was from like 4 p.m. to 2:30 in the morning. Yeah, but a month in, like I think the owner of the company, he passed away, and the son took over and gave everybody a raise though. So I was making 16 an hour. So I was like, man, that's some decent money now.
Right.
You know, I was 19, 20.
That's good.
I was like, I was making some pretty decent money. But then, I mean, I was in a car, so I got my first car, and I got into debt real quick. But
Is that the Camaro or
yeah, no, the
the
Mustang.
Mustang?
2013 Mustang, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, like I said, I was working there for years, and I was like, man, I don't think I want to do this.
What was it
No,
again? I'm sorry.
It was a vehicle processing center
Oh,
out there in
okay.
Houston, yeah.
Yeah, any of those like anything has to do with like machining or factory or distribution or like retail, it wears you out. Yeah, I've done
Yeah.
all of it.
It was
Yeah.
a lot
It
of,
wears you out, especially if you work nights. Like,
yeah,
screw
working at
that.
4 p.m., 2:30 in the morning. I get home at 3:15 in the morning. And
just by yourself.
yeah, I'm
Sit
still
in
up
the-
till
in
like
the-
6 in the
dark,
morning, and then
just-
that's when I was going to sleep. And
Right.
Eating in the
Wake-
dark. and-
yeah, got a top back out, everything's dark.
No life.
But
Little fast food.
yeah, he told me about barber school, and I signed up. It didn't take me too long. What, September 2019?
I was surprised because Omar was very like shy and quiet.
Yeah.
This guy?
Yeah.
At first, I had to go in there. I wouldn't really talk too much. I had to get in there, get my hair cut, but
Hey.
then we started cutting.
Yeah. Yeah, because I talked to all the guys about the army, the military. I was like, man, if you don't have a plan for life, I was like, at least do that, you know, because
Right.
if you don't want to go to college, you have money that you can pass on to your kids, your spouse, so that next generation is set, you know.
Right. That's very
But
important.
a lot of people, they were just like, no, well, I don't want to put that burden on my mom or my family, you know.
Right.
Or they're scared.
Yeah, well,
That's
well, so I started thinking about it, and I was
Both.
like, if you think about like our family, our parents, they migrated here from another country, so they felt that pain of putting their family through that, you know,
Mhm.
to where like they didn't get to go see their family right away,
Right.
like it took years, you know,
Mhm.
before they got to see them.
That's crazy.
So I guess that was like the attachment that they had towards their family. So I understand it, you know, now. But for me, it was a little easier. My parents were divorced. I was like, well, I'm not really attached to either one. I just need to figure out life.
Right.
Mhm.
But Omar,
You didn't find
he-
the answers, you know.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and I didn't have that stability, I guess.
Mhm.
Right. So you
But
had to go find
with these guys, Omar, when he first started, I was a little nervous, not because of his. I just wanted to be able to provide a place where he could make enough. Like I was like, I hope that he's able to make enough here, because if he can't, then I'd rather him go somewhere else, you know, to another shop that can actually take care of him.
That's good.
Because the first couple months it was tough.
When did you open?
I opened in 2021 January, the first. Yeah.
And I
we
started
just-
with-
During COVID, huh?
a little,
Well,
yeah,
After COVID.
yeah.
Then it started in May. What was it, May?
We can't say that.
Nah,
word, sir.
before May.
We can't say we're gonna get
Rewind.
banned.
Rewind.
The C word. We can just say C word.
Oh man.
So you started there, and then do you feel, since you were cutting hair in between all that, did the appointment phase, is that a better thing now for like barbershop? Because now anywhere I go, everything's appointment based.
It changed the game completely. I think it also made it to where prices went up.
A
Bec-
lot.
Yeah, prices went up, and that was one of the things that I was kind of concerned about, because I was like, how long is this gonna last for, where like prices continue to go up, you know?
Right.
Because eventually what you're doing is you're creating competition. So you start getting all these barbers, like home barbers, you know, people that don't have license start coming from their house, and they're charging all this money. And I was like, this is, to me, it's a serious thing. Like, you have to be clean, you have to be
Right.
sanitary. You're also helping move money around in the community.
Correct.
So it was like, for me, I was like, if I'm gonna have a business, I want it to be something where we have stability.
Mm.
I want guys that, if they're gonna work for me, I want to create them to be long-term barbers. Even if they don't stay with me, you know, but we're still gonna be partners. We're still gonna be friends. With Omar, I seen this growth. Like, I was expecting him to hit certain numbers by the end of the year. He started May. It just took from him from May to August to hit the goals that I had set for him.
I see 7.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But it all starts with a small group. Like, if I would have had like
Right.
10 barbers, it would have been impossible for him,
Mhm.
because
Right.
it's first come, first serve, you know?
But I'm glad he took me in. And
Yeah, that's
Got
part
it.
of the sector that's like the leadership part of the business, where it's like, by you helping others, you know, you help yourself, right? By you creating him, like giving him like your secrets, telling him, like mentoring him, it allows him to grow, but also you grow in that,
Yeah.
and your whole business grows. A lot of people, a lot of business owners, they want to keep all their secrets. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, I won't tell him what to do, because then he's gonna go and open up.
Right next to me.
Right next to me.
Competition
Well,
or
see,
something like
and that, a lot of that happens because the shop itself doesn't have any growth. Like, you have to be able to set it up to where they want to stay here, because eventually,
Right.
like, if it's commission based, you get to a point where you're giving up a lot of commission, you know, on a weekly basis to the shop.
You or the barber?
The barber's
barber's giving up
you know?
a lot of commission.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's like, well, what does the shop do for me, you know, after a while?
Right.
Mhm.
And if the shop doesn't have anything set up for this barber for the future,
Get up and
then,
go.
and you as a barber, you don't want to just be cutting hair to make your money all the time. Eventually, you want to be able to have your money work for you somehow, you know?
Mhm.
So the way that I see it and I structure it for the future is, I want these guys to be able to have their own clientele, that it's already like rebooking, you know, because that, like, it doesn't matter how much money you make on a weekly basis if you don't know how much you're gonna make next week.
Correct.
You know, you have to have that already set up. But once they hit certain numbers and they have this recurring group of people, I'm gonna switch over from commission to booth rent for them, and I want to have a big enough shop to where they can have their own suite, where they can hire somebody under them, you know, and they can start learning how that works,
Damn.
you know.
I respect that
And
a
then-
lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then that way that's why the shop's name, like, I want to change it in the future to, instead of being Snupchop's The Spot,
Mhm.
to The Spot by Snupchop.
Right.
So where it's like, it's not, I'm not the owner, we're all working
We're all
together.
together, right.
Yeah,
That's
we're partners in this.
How do you guys feel about that, or what? Well, that's the only shop you've worked at, right?
Yeah, only shop, first
Have
shop.
you only worked at that one?
Same thing, yeah. It's the
Oh,
only shop I
yeah.
worked at. But
Would you work at like another shop that didn't have like a future for you? You
So
know.
I'm from Huntsville.
Mm.
I
Where's
was
that?
Huntsville is about 30 miles north.
Oh,
I was
About
working
40,
out of my garage basically,
2 hours north.
doing that at home, and that's how I got started.
Mhm.
I started cutting hair in high school. A couple of my teammates, and I just saw the resemblance of how good it made them feel whenever they played at a game, and like to me, it made me happy. You know, making them feel confident, making them feel like they're able to achieve their goals or that moment for them,
Right.
and just taking care of that customer. That's what did it for me. And from there, I met Omar. What, like in 2019?
19, yeah.
2019.
More
Car meets.
Car meets here.
He had a Camaro. My
Oh,
son.
that's right.
Yeah.
You get in trouble with that Camaro.
A little bit. But that's how I met him. And then from there, we went to this barber expo, and I had the opportunity to meet Ed himself.
I
And
think we even planned it to meet there. How you was just there and
I was just
there.
I was just there. He was there, and from there he kicked off.
And it was interesting getting Mario in the team because he was super excited in the beginning, and you know it's to the point where you don't know what to expect. You're like it's a little too much right off the back. I don't know if it's gonna die down, you know.
Right.
And then he was
crazy that you can see all this.
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, because as a mentor, you see it in other people. You see the hunger that you once had, and you see like, okay, what's it gonna take them to get to where I'm at? Because that's kind of what you always want to get.
Right.
It's like, do they have the hunger? Do they have the knowledge? Do they have the ambition? Do they have the passion? And if one of those things is off, you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's gonna, work out for them, or how can I help them with the passion side? How can I help them with the knowledge side? How can I help them with like the technique, all that?
Right.
Yeah, and it was he told me he wanted to move to the 1488 area. So I was like, all right, well, because I don't want him driving from Huntsville all the way,
He was
to the
doing
back
it
of the
for a little
woodlands.
bit.
Because he was doing that for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
For like
Oh, before you
Few
got
months.
married.
before I got married, for like
Before he got married.
yeah, 2 months roughly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to make it that type of sacrifice, But I was like, but if you're gonna come live over here, then it's cool. Like, we'll get you in. And then he told me he's gonna get married in a couple months. And then when that happened, there was at the time, because we're a small shop, he was taking time off, to do all this stuff, and I was like, man, I don't know him that much.
Right.
But he's taking all this time off. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work out,
Right.
But Mario, he's always been the hard worker, man. Like, and I trusted Omar, and I had to remember too. I was like, he's young, so we always talk. We always have these conversations about, like, hey, you have this responsibility. Like, you're married.
Right.
You have to think about, like, yes, you want to be enjoying life, but you're responsible for your wife now, like, and she's responsible for you at the same time. Like, you made this commitment.
Right.
So me as someone who, like, I see myself as a mentor to the guys, I was like, I want you to be able to take care of your woman. So we always have this conversation. I was like, look, it's okay to take time off, but let's schedule it. Let's do this. Like, I want you to have your honeymoon. I want you to take vacations. Like I told the guys, I was like, let's try to take vacation one time a season, That way we're not missing out, but let's organize it.
Right.
Let's set it
I
up.
like that. Everything you do is organized. Is that
Yeah.
just your army?
Well, because I got to take care of the customers,
Right.
at the same time. Because if, let's say I take a week off, like, I had to figure out how to get the customers in.
Mm.
So
Let me ask you that, since it just popped in my head. Being in this kind of business, is that hard where if you're not cutting hair, you're not making money? Well, I mean, you're more of a business owner, but ellos, as barbers, like, is there other things that they do, or is it just like, if you're not working, if you do take a week off, what do? Do you just work extra hours the week before, or try to book them in later, or like?
So, yeah, like, you want to try to do all of that. And you want to save. I try to live by, I think it's a 20-20-40.
Save
No,
20.
20-20-40, 10, something like that. But I used to save 40% of my check. that was like savings. 20% for bills and then 20% for spending. And that's how I ended up like little by little you start seeing this growth of money,
Right.
you know, start saving, and then you start changing your lifestyle around by it, because like now, you know, it's like, all right, I only have so much money to spend. So I try to tell them about it, because another thing that happened to one of the guys that I used to work with, he made too much money one year, and then he had to pay taxes, and it was big, you know, and after that he didn't want to cut hair that much anymore.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make so much. I gotta pay for taxes.
Yeah, so then they're like, well, what's the point, you know?
Right.
So it's like, well, the thing is that like you need to know how the taxes work.
Correct.
You need to know how to do deductions. You need to. Like,
it wasn't deducting nothing.
yeah, but he was young, you know, he was a
Right.
kid.
Right. So they're all 1099s?
Yeah, everybody's 1099.
1099.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for us, this year, once we do our taxes, my job is gonna be to show them everything that I put down as a write-off, so they have a blueprint. And also, if they want to use the same tax person, you know, things like that, because I want them to be able to want to make money,
Right.
but to be ready to pay taxes. Like
Correct.
you have to pay taxes.
And even if they don't want to, like they're their own business, like they're
They-
their own
yeah.
self.
Do you guys have that LLCs, or is it all sole proprietor?
Or no, just 1099.
Sole
1099. Yeah.
proprietors.
Sole proprietor, yeah.
Yeah.
Get an LLC. Might as
Thought
well
about it.
get
Might
bigger
as well.
write-offs.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to bigger write-offs. So because that's kind of what it is, right? Within your business, there are many businesses of their
Yeah.
own.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. So I tell them too. I was like, I want y'all to be able to make more money. I was like, so, but there's also a cap. Like, this is how much I'm cool with you making, you know? That way you have enough time off. If you want to make more, you can. And I encourage you to, but I also want us to, like I told the guys, I was like, we sell products at the shop, but if you feel like there's better products out there and you want to sell them to your customers, sell it to them, you know? I was like, I don't need to take a cut off of that.
Right.
Like, I'm just here, like, the commission off of the haircuts is enough for us. You know, I want you to be able to grow your own business.
That's good.
If you want to start selling Herbalife, whatever, you know, like, use it.
Sponsored. Boom. Yeah.
Whatever works, you know?
Right, yeah.
You want to sell your product, you
Yeah,
know?
melted pot
Um,
gummies.
Yeah, I'll give y'all some gummies. I can start slinging some pre-rolls. Start slinging with people.
Damn, back to the drug deals.
But it's legal.
Plain money, plain
You're
money.
doing, it's all legal. That's
yeah,
good.
I don't
And
want to
that's why
control them, you know?
That's why you have your own brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no brand. Just starting out later. dude.
Bueno.
That's
Oh,
it.
got no
The
shirt.
lowriders.
But BBS
Alright,
fades as well.
BBS
BBS fades. That's good. And is y'all's goal maybe to one day branch out as well? Or
So-
like sub branch out? Wouldn't that be a good idea for you as
I
well?
feel like that would be a good idea.
Like a
under-
franchisee out
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
That's what he
Especially
talks
if they
about.
want to be in a different area, you know?
Mhm.
I just want to be able to get them to be ready for that, you know?
That's good.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like you have to have your technique and then all the business stuff, which is
Everything.
Yeah, and
A
you
lot.
don't want to just like burn bridges, you know, with people,
Right.
because you need each other. Like
Mhm.
in this industry, I feel like a lot of barbers don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Is it like more because it's competition?
I think so. I think they see it
I
that
feel
way,
like,
but I don't think it should be that way. You know?
I feel like there's enough hair to go around.
yeah,
Yeah.
They're just
there's enough
back.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this: why are haircuts so expensive?
So there was a big jump, I guess, from like the $20 range.
The $7.99.
It used to be
Whoa.
15.
I wasn't around for that. I was around for the 15.
15, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a big change in money at that time in the 2008 times, you know, when the housing
Oh, that happened.
crashed. And then we went to 20 because at this point everything was cash, and now you're having to pay like for credit card transaction fees and booking apps. So
Mhm.
prices started going up. And then the haircuts started getting difficult too. It's like, at first it was like quick haircuts, you know, 10,
Mhm.
15 minutes, you're done. People started demanding more. Like now within the haircut, they want their eyebrows, the crispiest fades. The top, you know, has to be a certain way. Back then it's just gel. You just put gel and
Yeah, it's a fade,
Yeah.
gel, vámonos.
Promo
Yeah.
code,
It don't-
¿verdad?
That was the stuff.
But I
Right,
think
so
at the
guys
price,
downstairs.
yeah, I think the price that we're at, It's $35 for a skin haircut. $30 if you just get a traditional haircut, which is like it's not going down to the skin, maybe a 1. And then $10 extra for beard. And I think that at that point we're actually good. Like I think anything over that, I'm not saying that it's bad. For me, it's like we want to take care of a lot of people,
Right.
But we still want to make a living.
Correct.
Anything under that, I think you're undervaluing yourself because rent has gone up too.
Yeah.
Products have gone up.
Clippers.
Clippers are like, it used to be like $60 a clipper, now they're like $200.
Oh damn.
Yeah. Expensive.
The ones like the 1, the 2, the 3, those clip or the
actual
clippers?
machine.
The
The
actual
actual
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh dang.
Even the blades themselves now, they're to replace the blade, it's like $45.
Damn.
How long
Yeah.
does it last you?
Depends on the usage, but
Mhm.
roughly I'd say you want to exchange them out every 3 months maybe.
And do you guys have like all that in like a spreadsheet, like how much things are costing, how much your inventory?
Yeah, my
we can
wife
see that,
thinks
like,
so.
we kind of have like a Excel sheet, and I can see all the expenses, like where is the money going, even for the
Smart.
guys. I can see, I'm like, hey, Omar made like pretty good, it's going up. Like I can see all their charts on how they're growing and everything.
And
you
you-
can see the expenses going up.
And
as
you go
well.
over all that with them, or is it just like a
So-
between?
I've been in school since June.
Again.
Yeah, I was about to
I learned a lot,
That's
man.
good.
But he
No,
does.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
He does like with me, like we talk about it, and then personal one-on-one, although like doesn't show them like, okay, the numbers, but he can talk to them like, hey, I saw your growth here, so now let's develop a new.
and they know how to
new
look it
goal.
up too, like on the computer. Like I don't keep anything from anybody, it's all in the system. But that is my next goal. Is we're gonna start having like our goals, our monthly meetings,
That's good.
quarterly meetings, and things like that. Because I do want to grow it to be more professional.
Right.
In the beginning, it was a lot. Like I had to be behind the chair.
To get started, and just like what he was saying about first collecting data.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
the
you have
first,
to
we
collect
just
data.
started the business. We ourselves, we were trying to figure everything out, the paperwork and all that stuff, getting the guys situated and get them started. And then after that, it was like, all right, well, you can't know where to put your time or like until you see the numbers. What's going on with the business? What's going on with the guys? Now that we kind of have, and then him out of school and having more time, he's able to now dedicate that
That's
time
awesome.
to like.
I
Yeah.
think it's
that's
very
our next
important.
step.
And I was talking to somebody the other day about that, and I was like, I think I did something on my Instagram, and it's like, what do you mean go over your numbers? Because on Mondays I go over my numbers. It's like, bro, you need to know your numbers, like what you're paying for your products. Like, you're not, your profits are where you buy, are made, where you buy your stuff. It's not when you sell it, it's where you buy it, what price is, shopping around. Really? I'm like, yeah, bro, do you not know how much you sell or your customer base is? Like, I can tell you about how many daily customers I get. I can tell you, my average cost. I can tell you my bills. Oh, yeah, maybe I do need to come. And I was like, you have to. And I think sometimes people just get into the, like, I'm a business owner now, or I have a hustle or whatever. I'm making money. Pero no se dan cuenta that you're actually probably not even making money. You probably think you're making money because you're making, let's just say, $200 a week, and you're only spending $80 on supplies. Pero could you maybe spend $60 on supplies?
Yeah.
And could you do one more step to make that $200 turn into $250 a week? And I think people need to understand that. And as business owners and as entrepreneurs, because that's what we are, because we start from nothing, it's like sometimes, like we said earlier, it's just we know how to work. Like, you knew how to cut hair, but now you're learning that there's more than me just standing here cutting hair. It's a business side of it. Now I need to train them. Now I need to keep them updated. And I saw y'all had a class a few weeks ago. Somebody came in, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then that's important. And maybe some people still, other shops do it, but maybe they don't post it. But I was like, man, when I saw it, I was like, see, that's like very, very important, because you keep your guys up to date on what's the new styles, what's the new things coming up. And that's also, like, I guess, planning, for like new type haircuts, because the trend changes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The trend changes.
Always.
Nobody does the south side fade like we used to back in the day.
One of those ahí, pero.
One of those,
Just three guys.
One of those schools. Like, my son finally did the
taper.
the taquache cut. And I'm like, dang, bro. And then I don't know where we went to get it. Oh, you did it? No.
I did your son,
Yeah,
and
you
then
did.
cut your hair.
And
He
then
cut
that's
your
why.
hair.
Yeah, that's why I was like, damn, like, it's more than just a regular fade, and I understand. But
I did want to say one more thing about the prices.
uh,
So I have nothing against, like to me it's actually would be really cool to see somebody have a clientele that pays him $100, $200 a haircut. You know, obviously they're doing something for that person
right.
to be the value to be there. But for us, it's just more of because we want to take care of the community. You know,
Mhm.
so you need numbers. You need a lot of people to be able to take in.
Right.
So there needs to be a number that's reasonable. But yeah, like no disrespect to anybody who's trying to make a whole bunch of money doing this, or maybe it's not even a lot of money. Maybe it's just like you're doing less customers, so
Mhm.
you don't maybe 2, 3, 4 haircuts a day
That's
will
good
make your
enough.
day. You know.
Right.
But for me, I also feel like that means that you have to put a lot of work doing social media. And
Mhm.
people don't understand that social media takes a lot of time. That could be 30, 40 hours a
Right.
week, you
Tell
know,
me about
just
it.
editing videos.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So
So,
stressful.
so it's not that you're not cutting hair, or you're only like, oh, I'm only working 3, 4 hours a week or a day. You're actually working probably more because you're having to go back and edit all these videos and this
Right.
content, and
Mhm.
you're trying to sell yourself at this point, you know,
Correct, correct.
to an
Do the
outside.
marketing.
Yeah.
You have to do the marketing. And I think it's funny you said about the community because I used to have a shop in Little York on 45, right next to Marisco's place. I forget what it's called. It's real big. And I went in there because anytime where my shops are at, I like to go to the businesses around there. One, to just go meet people and introduce myself, and two, just to kind of just buy or shop. So I went in there to cut my hair. And I was just talking to them like, hey, is this area busy or is it not? This and that. And they were telling me they're like at the beginning and at the end of the month. At the beginning and end of the month, it's very slow. And I was like, why? They're like, well, around here, it's not everybody can get a haircut,
Mhm.
right? So first, at the beginning and the end of the month, rent's due, bills are due, so people can't afford haircuts.
Yeah.
So they're like the middle of the month is when we make our money, when people have that extra money.
When they
to
get paid.
Yeah, when they get paid, and and he's like, and I was, and that
That's
I paid, it
terrible.
was like $45 a cut, and I was like, what
Damn.
the fuck is that?
Damn.
So I was like, I thought about that in my head. I was like, maybe if you lower your prices, because I'm not coming back here for $45 a month, But it made sense where you said not everybody can afford that haircut, and
Well,
especially in
and-
that area, like Little York. That area is real. It's lower income, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a lot of homeless, and that's why my store's not there no more because it was just a lot of drama and a lot of issues. But I was like, man, that's crazy because you should go a little bit lower to try to get some of these people back in. But I guess
So our goal is that we also want to use the shop as a way to market our own customers. So we're big with small businesses. So like if one of my customers sells something that I need, I'll buy it from them,
right,
Even if it's a little bit more expensive than Amazon. But at least the money is staying in the community,
correct,
which means that as they make more money, then we can charge more,
Right.
because they can afford it and we're all growing together. But if I'm just going to a place just because I feel like, oh, this area has a lot of money, let me go in there and find a way to take as much of it, then I don't know. Like I feel like, let's say a celebrity walks into the shop and they want to get a haircut, and I've heard this before where somebody was like, well, I would charge them like $100, $200 to cut their hair. I was like, why? They're coming into the shop, like
Right.
charge them shop prices,
Right.
Like,
If you only did celebrities and that was your regular price, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like Harvey, what's his name?
Steve
Oh,
Harvey.
yeah.
Steve
Steve
Harvey
Harvey.
was like, this guy went from doing just regular shops, now he's just doing celebrities and he's charging like
Yeah,
hundreds or
and
thousands.
a lot of times you're going to them, so you have to charge them for all that,
and their time schedule, and
Yeah.
being around them. that
But
would
then
be
you
cool.
become a slave to them at that point. So
That's
it's
it.
like you're not in control of your life anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on like what
What you
lifestyle
want,
you
yeah.
want, you know.
What do you want out of it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You guys had any celebrities yet?
No,
Besides me? No?
we got a couple guys that are. I could see they're gonna go pro. Baseball. They have been pro. Couple of the guys. I'm pretty sure Omar and Mario have a couple guys.
One guy's well known in Houston for building fast cars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sí, cierto.
Slim Thug?
Nah,
Slim Thug hasn't come through?
Manuel.
Manuel.
White M3.
Midnight Performance.
Yeah, shout out Midnight Performance.
Shout out to
Never heard
them.
of that guy.
But I had a guy too, but we didn't even know. Like he played.
Oh yeah, that one.
He played in the Super Bowl, right?
No, he played for the Texans.
The Texans and
That's
Buccaneers.
not a Super Bowl.
That's not a Super Bowl.
no,
He
not even
played
close.
with the Buccaneers when they won
Buccaneers
the Super
when
Bowl.
they won the
Okay,
Super
yes,
Bowl.
he posted. That's what I was gonna say. I know
Like-
somebody posted something.
But we didn't even like know or anything,
No.
and he was a
That's
cool
why he
guy.
didn't bring it up
He
either.
didn't
so-
bring it up.
Yeah. And a lot of people, that's what they want. You know, they
Right.
just want to live their
Wanna be
life.
subtle, yeah.
Right.
So we can't be just taking advantage of
Right,
it.
you gotta
know?
be
Right.
discreet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, some people.
Professionals.
I would hear that a lot. Sometimes people like to go out somewhere different where they're not recognized, where they're not know who they are,
Right.
because
Yeah.
they want to be normal people too.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this: what about tips? How do y'all feel about tips?
So for me personally, as a shop owner, and I get paid commission myself. Like the
That's
shop
smart.
money is the shop money.
Very smart.
You know.
Yes.
And I appreciate the tips, but I feel like if I need to make more money, then I need to go up on my prices. If somebody doesn't tip me, I'm not gonna treat them bad, or worse, I give the same service to everybody, and we're very grateful, you know, and all of the guys are the same.
Yeah, not everybody can tip. You know,
Yeah.
they might have enough money just for their haircut.
Right. Right.
So I mean,
Right.
especially like high school students and stuff like that. You know, but I mean, they still come in, and that's more than enough.
Right.
For
I
us.
think the tipping would come if you do that extra service. No.
Right.
Like,
It depends, you know. Sometimes
mean-
like people they want to see you grow, you know, so they
Yeah.
give you extra.
Yeah.
Um,
No, we've just been arguing about
yeah, we've been talking about it.
tips.
So I'll be
Tips.
honest, and I've been honest about it with it before. Like certain areas that I do tip and I don't tip, and like nails. Like
Mhm.
when I was start taking my daughter to nails, and the guy would stand there, and I'd be like, "What is he waiting for?"
Yeah,
you
like-
know, and I'd be like,
Yes.
"Oh, am I supposed to tip this guy? Like, I just paid you to do my daughter's nails. Like, I didn't know, you know." So I was learning, and then the Mexican ladies would always cut my hair, and they have their little thing, so I leave $1. I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm supposed to leave $1," but I didn't know like that industry was like a tipping industry. And like to me, I was like, you know, I'm paying for the haircut, right? It's like someone comes to the smoke shop, like, and that's what I've told them. You're paying for a product. I don't expect you to tip me because you're paying for the vape or you're paying for whatever you're getting.
But that's different.
Now, and I was like, and
They're providing a service.
correct. So then I tell the employees, like, they beg me to add the tipping thing on their credit card reader. I was like, all right, we'll do it. And I was like, but you better than up your service. Our standard that we have, then you need to go up higher, right? Don't just sit there and expect them.
So
So
they walk in, like,
Right.
what y'all doing?
right, so doing all that extra stuff. So then I was like, oh, okay. So now I tip and now I understand. But to me, it's like, I think I still do it only when the service is like, if I come in, you talk to me well, and you come in here, cool, you know. Now if you go the extra and I come in, I don't even have to tell you. You remembered, you know, you remember what we talked about last time. You remember how I'm doing. You asked me about my kid, about something I told you about 6 months ago. Like, okay, now that's an added service. Like, you're giving me that
Yeah.
bond that, like earlier you said, you have that bond, that relationship
That
with your
relationship.
customer. Then that makes it sense to be able to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're right. I honestly don't expect a tip, you know. I'm always just calculating the gross, you know. And if the gross is not there, then let me up my service. Every time that I've gone up on price, that's the first thing I think about. It's like, how can I wow them again, you know?
Right.
Because even though we have to go up with the times, you know,
Mhm.
the prices, I still want to make that impact to bring value to the work that I'm doing.
Right.
But yeah, the same. Like I think right now we're in a society where everybody's asking for tip,
Right.
and we don't ask for it. You know, we're
Right.
like not expecting it. We just give you the option. Like if you want to.
Correct.
A lot of people get mad if you don't like ask them. You know, like because they want to see you grow, but they also look at our lifestyle and they're like, well, you're not out there showing off, like or making yourself look like a celebrity or whatever, you know. It's
Right.
like you're genuinely using this money to take care of yourself, your family.
Correct.
Um,
I think and people like that. People like to see growth, and I learned that at the shop. Whenever I would upgrade things at the shop, people were like, "Oh, you did like it looks nicer.
Yeah.
You painted, or oh, you got this." I was like, "Oh shit, they noticed." Like
Got rid of
that-
that mold.
right? And I think people like when they go to local businesses, they want to see you grow. And I feel like they feel like, oh, because I come here, I'm able to help them grow. I'm able to help them pay their bills. I'm able to help them provide for their families, and they're upgrading it, which means now I get better service, better lighting when I come in.
Yeah.
I think that's very.
And it was nice to see whenever my husband started the shop at the beginning, how I can see that relationship and they feel part of the shop because
Right.
their money is making something different and they can see it and they
Right.
come in there. It's like, oh, I helped out. It's our shop, and
Right.
that's what I love. that he tries to like, hey, this is not my shop, this is y'all shop, and it's nice to see the kids come in and they're growing in there. And when we first started, it was so crazy because it kind of just happened out of nowhere. And just as we built the first barbershop, it was kind of like, he had to get started because he had customers he had to take care of. And we're building like the first barbershop. And I remember the first customer.
Chair?
Yeah, I mean, like, yes, the first barber chair. And then the first customer comes in, and we didn't have the cape, we didn't have anything. We had to use the same, wrapping plastic that was from the chair, and like put it around him. But I was like, wow. And then they were coming in, it's like, hey bro, like if you need help with setting up the TV, I can help you. I was like, man, like this is awesome, the relationship that he built, and that they're willing to help, and they feel part, like hey, like they want to help out, and that's
real good.
Amazing.
Like I feel it, like the love, because it's like
that was awesome.
Like that's what we're there for. We're there to take care of them, and in return they take care of us.
I think it's always gonna be like that.
And that's a huge difference than like working at like a, somebody else's machine shop.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And then like you can feel that difference, and the money might not be completely different, but like the purpose is completely different.
Right.
And then that's what's going to drive you to just keep going forward. And like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
That's good. No more changing jobs or changing.
No more school.
No more school.
So the idea.
School.
Yeah,
School is always
so.
good. Education is always good.
It's always real good.
Yeah, the idea is to replace myself, and the guys have been doing fantastic. And to the point where like in the future we're gonna have to add more people because they're building their own clients like pretty fast, So they can only take so many of my guys. But it's been amazing. Like these guys are a blessing. I had 2 other guys that used to work for me or with me. They were a blessing as well. They just they took off on their own doing their thing.
That's good.
And man, I'm happy for them too.
That's good.
But we're still missing my cousin Tabitha.
She couldn't make it today.
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
And we got Rich. He's coming up. So he works Saturdays right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
What is y'all's plan? Like, what are you guys planning on doing with y'all's career?
So definitely, as of right now, I'm also enjoying the process of everything because I'm also seeing like the
learning
growth.
a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I'm also seeing like the growth in the business, and more than anything, I really love the team that we have because more than anything, to me, it feels like a family, But it's always good to see like, Ed's customers, our customers, everyone's customers in general. We can all, say hi to each other. There's never ever like any tension, and it's just always like everyone feels like home,
Right.
It's like he said, the spot. And, I like that. I'm able to grab a little bit of Omar's knowledge. He's able to grab some of my knowledge off of his knowledge. So we all, like, share a lot of, great tips, great pointers. And we just create, a really well-developed plan for each other. And it's awesome, man.
That's good.
Well, I like that when we started the shop, like Ed, he's passing me some customers, right? That's a good thing because they get to like try me out too. But then once Mario was coming in, like they get to talk to Mario, and then they feel like they can trust Mario to cut their hair, right? A lot of people just go in the shop and they only want to do one barber,
Right.
Yeah.
and then they don't want to give them to other
yeah.
people, and they feel like they're gonna lose the customer.
Right. You feel threatened because it's their money. Like if I lose this customer, then it's
Yeah.
And now you're not going to like Ed, you're going to the spot, which is like anybody there.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, that's the idea.
It's all quality haircut regardless of
for sure.
who it is.
And that is everyone's shop.
Everyone.
Like it's their shop as well. They're part of it as well, and it doesn't matter who the client decides at the end to go to. That money is going back to all of us.
Yeah.
Because it's our shop.
That's good.
I don't mind if my customers go to Mario or Ed, and as long as they're coming back and we still talk to them when they come in.
I'm
And
gonna stop going with y'all.
What matters is like we continue to take care of the customer regardless of who it is that's cutting their hair. That's that's the importance of taking care of them and making sure that they continue to obviously come back because they love that we take care of them, and the experience and the relationship.
Right, because
that
it
we
is that
build.
service, right? Like that barbershop, that's the service that you're providing. Is that
Yeah.
relationship plus, you know, a good quality haircut.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
there's customers that they just want to be heard, you know, or they
Right.
That is so true.
they
They
want to
say-
be heard, they
they-
want to be understood, they want to have someone, you know, to be there for them, or just to give them a little bit of guidance, or just to have a simple convo, man.
Right.
They say that you only tell your secrets to your barber and your doctor, something like that.
Dang,
It's
you
true,
guys
though.
have a lot of
It's,
secrets.
Yeah, you got guys that, you know, I share a lot of stuff from my life with my customers as well,
Right.
you know. But one thing I always tell the customer is like, I work for you. I was like, so the same thing with these guys. I was like, y'all don't work for me, y'all work for the customer, but we're all working for the shop in a sense, you know.
Right,
like,
right, right.
But the customer is always like, he has to be taken care of. He's our boss, you know.
At the end of the day,
He or she.
Because if you don't, they're not coming back.
yeah.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
And then the word of mouth, you know, they just tell other
Oh,
people.
yeah.
So marketing in our industry, I don't focus too much on spending money on advertisements, things like that, because in reality, you want to hit up anywhere from like a 1 to 3 mile radius.
Mm.
So there's no point in me advertising in Houston, in Huntsville, and in
Right.
Waverly. The word will just spread around, but you want to be able to take care of the local area.
Mhm.
Right.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah.
Still goes. I think word of mouth still beats.
It's number
It's
one.
still huge,
advertisement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
because it's a
what-
trust thing, you know. It's
Correct.
like,
Yeah.
Correct.
Like,
It's
I
like you
trust
said,
you,
you
so-
trusted him, so then you let him
Mhm.
come in. I wouldn't have let him come. No. Sounds good. So where are you guys located again?
we're on 1488 in Tamina.
Tamina Road.
What the
Yeah.
hell? 32302 Tamina Road.
Yeah.
And then your Instagram is
At Snupchop.
Snupchop.
on
I definitely
Instagram.
have to check you guys out. I already have a fro going on.
Yeah, sounds good. And what's your Instagram?
Emperor Fade, so EMPERORFADEZ, and
I'll
Get
make
up.
sure you spell it right.
Just show the shirt.
Show the hoodie, bro.
Yeah, showing the hoodie. And then
Yeah,
yours.
VVS_fades.
And you cut hair?
I sometimes.
Oh, you.
Sometimes.
Oh yeah, you did cut hair.
I did cut
Oh,
sometimes.
okay.
Does it
What's your
all?
Instagram too then?
No, I just
Just
the
the
same.
same one.
Business
Yeah.
one. Just the business
Yeah,
one.
no, I'm a nurse.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're a
That's
nurse.
my.
And we have our kids homeschool, so she does a lot with that.
Oh, that's why I saw him at the shop the
Yeah.
other day.
Well, that's another
I
conversation.
was like, he's strict, man. His kids are out here doing homework up on the computer. I was like, dang, he's a strict dad.
That's
Nah,
good.
nah,
That's
he's
good.
good.
You gotta
Nah,
break
he's
them down, build them up.
Break them down. Oh, that's what you should do.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for coming out today. Really
Thank you
appreciate
for
y'all.
having
Thank you.
us.
No,
I feel
thank
like,
you.
I feel like we
for
learned a
having
lot.
us.
I feel like
Yeah.
I guess I need to start tipping now. Chinga.
Sure.
Anything else you guys want to say? Last minute?
Thank you, Luis, as well, for helping
Oh, yeah.
us with
Thank you.
everything in the.
I appreciate all the work y'all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. And
Yeah, that's what we're doing. I mean, we're just trying to spread the word for any small business and, you know, give people that. I mean, you're basically doing that, being a mentor, right, to these youngins. But there's a lot of people out there that don't have anybody to look at. You know, I know
Right.
whenever I started, I was like, okay, all I'm doing is books because there's nobody out doing what I'm doing. So just books and YouTube for like 2 years, you know. But if there was anybody out there locally that was like, oh, they're doing a business, you know, I want to go and reach out, you know, ask for advice, you know, that's kind of why we're doing
That's the
it.
goal. That's why we do this. People can hear the stories and, like you said earlier, know that hey, another guy from Conroe that I know, that I played soccer with, or that I did this with, made it, and he went through struggles like I did, and he's successful now.
That's the goal,
great.
you know, like to live the American dream, you know, for all of us, you know, it's like there's enough to go around for
Always.
everybody. you
there's
know?
always,
Mm.
always.
enough.
And just I like the stories because you're sometimes like my kids like watch and follow these YouTubers and I'm like, oh man, like that's crazy, like how they living and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but like it took a lot of work.
Right.
It took a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
work to get there, and it's like it took discipline, it took time, it took
Mm.
sacrifices, it took like all these things, but at the end, like it's good to learn those steps and ourselves learn through all this, then now he can pass it down to others to make it a little bit easier. Not
That's so
easier
true.
because they still have to put the work,
Right.
but
Mhm.
they don't have to start from the bottom.
From zero.
Like
the
we can,
best.
and that's the purpose of this like what you guys saying, like showing also that people can, there's mentors, leaders like that, or someone to look up to,
Correct.
that are here, living here day by day, not the
Not
ones on
in
YouTube
LA,
that don't even,
New
Yeah.
you
York.
never get to know them,
Right.
Send them a
But it's
DM to
here
get
that
ignored,
people,
left on red.
And it's like, okay, but they need it, I can make it,
Correct. That's
and
the
it's
main goal.
not that it's gonna be easy,
Right.
but now I know someone
That
need
it's
it,
possible.
and that I'm not gonna go through my life without any hurdles, anything that I have to
Right.
make them. But at least
Yeah.
someone already put some stepping stones to make it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's
like
important.
imagine if you had yourself, back in the day at 19. If you had somebody like you telling you, hey, this is a plan, this is what you can do.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Imagine all the
Yeah.
heartaches and all the
You
things that
would've saved.
you would have saved on.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from what you guys are gonna have to go through, because
Right.
you guys are still gonna have to struggle whenever you start growing. It's even harder, right? Because
I feel like the struggle is always going to be there.
Right.
The struggle is always going to be there. Obviously, you want to surround yourself with people that are definitely going to, like, I wouldn't say mold you, but guide you in the way that, you know that you're going to have, success.
Right.
Because success can be anything.
right,
It doesn't necessarily have to be money. It can be, you're doing freedom, And more than anything is just being able to have someone that you can actually trust and that they can guide you in the perspective that you
Right.
want to go.
and especially at the initial phase where a lot of the bumps and stuff like could be avoided. Like there's a lot of things that could be avoidable, but because no one's telling you, like, hey, don't do that. You have to go through it.
Yeah.
And the more longer you're in it, he's still got so many struggles to go through.
Different struggles.
Different struggles, yeah, but he doesn't have to go through the initial struggles, right?
Yeah.
And you guys can catch up to him and say, okay, now let's figure it out together, rather
Yeah.
than,
That's the goal.
And that's the most beautiful moment
Yeah.
too. Figuring it out together.
Mhm.
Because man, we're seeing everything happen just in front of us.
I think one thing is I always used to get advice from people that I didn't look up to, and you don't take that advice,
right,
because to me it's like, well, you're nothing, like, not in a mean way, but it's
Right.
like, I don't want your life
Correct.
because you don't have it, like, you're just telling me about your regrets.
Right.
But it's like, and I noticed that from younger people, it's like, in order for them to listen to somebody, they have to admire them in the
Right.
sense of like feel like they're accomplished, right? So it's that's kind of my goal. It's like I have to become something so people can listen,
And see from there.
because I can talk to people all day, but if I'm not doing anything,
Correct.
they're not gonna listen.
Right. It's like when people give you money advice, but then they don't have their money situation.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a hard
Like,
one.
oh, don't invest there. Like, how many investments do you have? None. I just don't know not to invest in it, bro. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Thanks
Appreciate
everybody
it,
that
man.
stopped by.
Thank you.
We appreciate the support, all the comments, and if you guys have anybody else interested who got a small business in the area, send them our way, and we'll bring them on the show. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes.